Namaskaram. Let's look at life as it is, not as we wish it to be. Today, people feel troubled if they don't have a girlfriend, no friends, or no social circle. But tell me, if you sit alone in a room for 1 hour, do you become less of a person? Do you shrink? No. Then why does loneliness trouble you? It is because you have not learned to be with yourself. If you are empty within, you seek others to fill that void. But the truth is, whether you have 1,000 people around or none, life is happening within you. The joy, the suffering, it is all happening inside. If you know how to be at peace within yourself, no external relationships will define your well-being. Now, money, that is a different matter. If you have no money, you do not just suffer emotionally, you suffer physically. If you don't eat, your stomach will remind you. If you have no shelter, the sun will remind you. You cannot meditate hunger away. You cannot breathe peace into an empty stomach. Money is not everything, but without it, life becomes unnecessarily difficult. It is a tool, not the goal, but an essential tool. If you know how to earn, you can shape your life as you wish. If you don't, even simple things become a struggle. So understand this, having no girlfriend or friends is not a crisis, it is an opportunity to know yourself. But having no money is a real problem. Solve that first and life will be in your hands. Being alone is not a problem. Not knowing how to be alone is. In today's world, people have been conditioned to believe that being alone is a sign of failure. If someone is sitting alone at a cafe, people assume they must be lonely or unhappy. If a person does not have a partner or a large group of friends, society starts questioning their social skills or even their mental well-being. But let's look at this carefully. Why is being alone seen as a problem? The real issue is not the lack of company, it is the inability to be comfortable with oneself. When a person does not know how to be alone, they constantly seek distractions, whether through people, social media, or entertainment. This endless search for external engagement is not a sign of fulfillment, but of inner restlessness. If you observe nature, every living being spends time alone. A tree stands by itself, deeply rooted without feeling lonely. A lion may roam the jungle alone for days and still be the king of its territory. Yet human beings, who consider themselves the most intelligent species, struggle with solitude. The problem is that we have lost the ability to simply be. We are always looking for something to do, someone to talk to, or something to engage with. But if we never learn to sit with ourselves, we will always be dependent on external sources for our happiness. The fear of being alone often stems from an inner emptiness. People feel lonely because deep down they do not enjoy their own company. If your own presence is not enough for you, how can it be enough for anyone else? This is why so many people enter relationships or friendships, not out of love or genuine connection, but out of the fear of solitude. When relationships are formed based on this fear, they often become unhealthy, filled with emotional dependency rather than true companionship. If a person cannot sit peacefully alone for even 1 hour, it is a clear sign that they are running away from something within themselves. Being alone does not mean isolation, it means self-sufficiency. It is not about cutting off from the world, but about not being emotionally or mentally dependent on others for your well-being. If a person knows how to be alone and be at peace, they will interact with the world from a place of strength rather than weakness. They will not seek relationships as a means to escape themselves, but as an opportunity to share their inner joy. When you are content within, you will naturally attract people who are also whole within themselves, leading to healthier and more fulfilling relationships. Many people assume that being alone means boredom, but that is only true for those who have never explored their inner world. The mind is vast, the intellect is deep, and consciousness itself is limitless. If one turns inward, they will discover more than what the entire external world has to offer. But instead, most people turn to entertainment, gossip, and meaningless conversations just to avoid the silence of their own presence. They do not realize that within this silence lies the key to true self-discovery. Those who can sit alone and remain joyful have already mastered something that most people struggle with their entire lives. Look at the greatest minds and most enlightened beings in history. Many of them spent long periods in solitude, not because they were forced to, but because they understood the power of being with themselves. Whether it was Buddha who meditated under the Bodhi tree, or great scientists who spent hours in deep thought, solitude has always been a space for transformation. If you can be alone and not feel lonely, you have unlocked a level of freedom that few attain. When you do not depend on company to feel complete, you become truly independent. However, modern society does not encourage solitude. It promotes constant engagement, scrolling, chatting, watching, and consuming. The idea of sitting quietly, doing nothing, seems strange to many. But this is the root cause of much of the anxiety and restlessness people feel today. When the mind is overstimulated and never allowed to settle, it becomes agitated and uneasy. If one learns to enjoy their own company, they will not only find peace, but also clarity of thought, creativity, and emotional stability. Solitude, when embraced, becomes a powerful tool rather than a curse. So the real issue is not being alone, the issue is not knowing how to be alone. If you see being alone as suffering, you will always look for escape. But if you see it as an opportunity, it will become your greatest strength. Those who master the art of solitude do not fear loneliness, and those who do not fear loneliness are free from unnecessary emotional struggles. True companionship, whether with friends or a partner, should come as an addition to your happiness, not as a requirement for it. When you are content with your own presence, every relationship in your life becomes a choice, not a… Your peace and happiness come from within, not from external relationships. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to believe that our happiness depends on something outside of us. As children, we are told that getting good grades will make us happy. As we grow older, we start believing that a relationship, friends, or social status will complete us. This mindset creates a dangerous illusion, the idea that peace and joy are things to be found somewhere outside ourselves. But have you ever noticed that no matter how much you achieve or how many people you surround yourself with, the feeling of dissatisfaction always creeps back? This is because real happiness is not something that comes from the outside, it is something that happens within. Imagine a person who is always surrounded by friends, has a loving partner, and is admired by many. On the surface, they seem happy, but when they are left alone, even for a short time, they start feeling anxious or restless. Why does this happen? It is because their happiness was never truly their own. It was borrowed from their circumstances and the people around them. The moment those external factors change, their sense of well-being collapses. This is why so many people suffer emotionally when they face a breakup, lose friends, or experience social rejection. Their joy was never coming from within, so the moment their external world shifted, their inner world crumbled. On the other hand, look at someone who is at peace with themselves. Whether they are alone or surrounded by people, their state of mind remains stable. This does not mean they do not enjoy relationships. It simply means their happiness is not dependent on them. If they are with others, they share their joy. If they are alone, they still remain joyful. This kind of person does not form relationships out of need but out of choice. When you are emotionally self-sufficient, you do not cling to others desperately. Instead, your presence becomes refreshing for those around you because you are not trying to extract happiness from them, you are simply sharing what is already within you. People often believe that love or companionship will bring them lasting happiness. But if this were true, then every married person or everyone in a relationship would be completely fulfilled. Yet, we see that is not the case. People still fight, still feel lonely in a crowd, and still search for something more. This is because no relationship can fix what is broken within. If you are empty inside, no amount of love from another person will fill that emptiness. Instead, you will only bring your unresolved emotions into the relationship, making it fragile and dependent. True love and companionship can only flourish when both individuals are already complete within themselves. Another mistake people make is relying on friendships for emotional stability. While friendships can be beautiful, they should not become a crutch. If you constantly need someone to talk to, someone to validate you, or someone to entertain you, it means you have not yet found comfort in your own presence. Many people surround themselves with others not because they genuinely enjoy their company, but because they are afraid of their own thoughts when they are alone. This dependency leads to unhealthy friendships, where people tolerate disrespect, betrayal, and toxicity just because they fear loneliness. If your well-being depends on someone else, you will always be at their mercy. The key to true happiness is understanding that nothing outside of you can make you permanently happy. Everything external is temporary. Relationships change, people change, and situations change. If your peace is tied to these things, your peace will always be fragile. But if you cultivate joy from within, then no matter what happens in the external world, your inner world will remain undisturbed. This does not mean you should isolate yourself, it means you should interact with the world from a place of completeness rather than lack. When you operate from inner fulfillment, you stop expecting others to be responsible for your happiness, and this makes your relationships more meaningful. Think about this. When you eat food, the nourishment happens within your body. When you breathe, the oxygen works within you. Similarly, happiness is something that must happen within you, not from outside sources. No one else can digest food for you, no one else can breathe for you. Then why do people expect others to create happiness for them? Just like you take care of your physical health, you must take responsibility for your emotional well-being. If you master this, you will never again feel desperate for relationships or friendships. You will enjoy them, but you will not need them for survival. People who learn to generate peace and joy from within become the most attractive and magnetic individuals. Their presence feels light, refreshing, and calming. Others naturally gravitate toward them, not because they are needy, but because they radiate something rare, inner contentment. Instead of constantly chasing relationships to feel whole, focus on building that wholeness within. When you do this, the right people will come into your life effortlessly, and even if they leave, your happiness will remain untouched. No amount of company can fill an inner void. It must be dealt with from within. Many people believe that surrounding themselves with friends, family, or a romantic partner will erase their inner emptiness. They think that by constantly engaging in social activities, staying busy, or always having someone to talk to, they can avoid the uncomfortable silence within. But no matter how many people you surround yourself with, if there is an emptiness inside, it will remain. You may temporarily forget about it, but the moment you are left alone, it will return stronger than before. That is because the void is not outside of you, it is within and only you can fill it. People often mistake distraction for healing. When they feel lonely, they immediately seek company. When they feel sad, they turn to entertainment, social media, or conversations to escape those feelings. But avoiding something does not make it go away. In fact, it only makes it grow. The more you suppress your inner void with external distractions, the deeper it becomes. Instead of facing their emptiness, people run from it, hoping that relationships, friendships, or social status will make them feel whole. But this is an illusion. The emptiness remains, silently waiting for a moment of solitude to resurface. Look at people who constantly need to be in a relationship. They jump from one partner to another, never taking a break, because being alone terrifies them. They do not seek love, they seek escape. They are not looking for a genuine connection, they are looking for a way to avoid themselves. The same goes for people who cannot sit in silence even for a few minutes. They need music, a phone call, or some kind of noise to fill the space. This behavior is not a sign of happiness, but of deep inner restlessness. True fulfillment does not come from filling your life with people. It comes from filling yourself from within. The problem with relying on others to fill your void is that it puts you in a position of constant dependency. You become emotionally attached to the presence of others, and when they leave, whether temporarily or permanently, you feel lost. This is why people suffer so much after breakups, after losing a friend, or even when plans get cancelled. Their entire sense of peace was tied to someone else. When that external source of comfort is removed, the inner void becomes unbearable. But the truth is, this void was always there. It was only hidden beneath temporary distractions. If you want to truly heal, you must stop running and start facing yourself. Instead of seeking company every time you feel lonely, sit with that feeling, observe it, ask yourself why it exists. Where does this emptiness come from? What are you avoiding? Most of the time, this void is caused by unresolved emotions, unhealed past wounds, or a lack of self-acceptance. But the only way to heal it is to bring awareness to it, not by covering it up with noise. The process may be uncomfortable at first, but if you allow yourself to truly experience solitude, you will start to understand yourself in a way that no relationship or friendship ever could. The most peaceful people in the world are not those who have the most friends or the most active social life. They are those who have learned to enjoy their own company. When they are with people, they engage fully. When they are alone, they are just as content. This is because they do not see solitude as a problem, they see it as an opportunity. They have realized that external relationships are meant to enhance life, not to complete it. They do not use others to distract themselves from their inner state. They have already dealt with that on their own. This is not to say that relationships and friendships are meaningless. They are beautiful aspects of life, but they should be a choice, not a necessity. When you build relationships from a place of completeness, they become healthier, stronger, and more fulfilling. You are no longer seeking something from the other person, you are simply sharing your presence. There is no desperation, no clinginess, and no fear of losing them, because you already feel whole within yourself. This is the foundation of true love and genuine friendship. So instead of chasing company to fill the void, turn inward, sit with yourself, learn to enjoy your own presence, meditate, reflect, and understand that no external source can give you lasting fulfillment. The moment you realize this, you will stop feeling lonely even when you are alone, because true peace does not come from being surrounded by people, it comes from being at peace with yourself.